Hey there team, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to my overview of Clair Obscur Expedition 33. So if you're not across it, I do overviews on this channel. It's where I have a look at the first 2 hours of a game. It's a Steam refund window. Steam reckons you can make up your mind about a game in that time, and I agree as a rule, and would say 20 hours in, you're probably not going to change your mind about how you felt 2 hours in. So it's just short, punchy video, broad strokes info, keep it around 10 minutes, and you can make up your mind on your own. Alright, how do we lay this out? These opening hours that I have spent with this game are some of the strongest narrative intro to any game that I have ever played, ever. I'll give you some really quick dot points just to give you a reason to stop the video and go and get this game. But yes, obviously I recommend it very highly, but I've only just touched the tip of the iceberg. As best as I can tell, from where this is all going is that this is essentially a Final Fantasy style game, but it's done through the perspective and lens of a very French company. And what it immediately shines a light on is that, I was going to say stranglehold. I'll just commit to the thought, but bear with me. It's nothing malicious, but Final Fantasy is the darling of that whole long-form turn-based party combat system that, generally speaking, is considered a JRPG. And you've had other things pop up in recent times like the Persona series and Metaphor, but it is one of those things that you realize by playing this that there is a different way to do that genre, and what has become the staple of the JRPG is, well, saying it out loud sounds a bit silly, but a very Japanese way of narrative pacing and storytelling. Themes, character construction, etc. So while this still mechanically has that same old feeling of a Final Fantasy, a Persona 5, that sort of thing, it very much feels through its narrative construction so distinctly different from a different culture altogether. And it's really cool to see, and it's one of those things because you just don't see that, no one really does it outside of the JRPG model, that I kind of didn't even realize that it could be done that way. An example, a touchstone to sort of try and ground this would be the way I always saw the Dark Souls games in the early days when I was playing Demon Souls on bloody PS3 import or whatever, was that this is a Japanese way of doing a Western RPG or action RPG. I mean, it's taken on a whole life of its own, it's very different now, but that's how it felt at the time. And if you go back and watch the original launch trailers of things like Demon Souls, you get that with the plate armor and the monsters, but then it has this weird twinge to it that's distinctly Japanese rooted. Anyway, it's dealing with some very heavy melancholy, romance, love, loss, deep loss and mourning, all this sort of stuff, heavily, like I said, romantic French topics, and it handles it very well, and it's not like it lays it on too thick or anything like that. The pacing's spot on, but, heartstrings will be pulled within the first hour of the game. And I would really caution, if you find any of this interesting, because I'm actually pretty proud that I don't really spoil things at all, but there is such an economy around YouTube traffic and even just thumbnails and titles. The gentlemanly conduct is right out the fucking window these days, where spoilers will just pop up on your reel when you're trying to avoid them actively. So I'm not going to spoil anything, but be really careful. The more blind you go into this, the better you will be for it. And I've said this before, I play a lot of games. Once I get a sniff of it, I'll watch half a trailer. I'll go, yep, Tastemaker, that's good. That's what this was. I go, yeah, that's great. I'm going to get onto my contact and I'm going to play it. So I went in knowing absolutely nothing about this. So that's my recommendation. If you do not like ultra long form JRPG style mechanics and like a 50-hour story, because from what I've gathered, the first act doesn't end until about 10 hours in, so it's very long. But if you don't like turn-based combat and that sort of party management stuff, then mechanically you be careful going into this, because it is very much the same. And dare I throw shade at this, I actually find, as much as the almost Art Deco UI design is very beautiful, in the heat of the moment it's actually terribly unreadable. Like there's you see it in some of these games pop up where you'll be executing an attack, but you can press like a button to parry or press A to do like consecutive attacks on top of it, and it becomes more about muscle memory and timing for me and almost audio cues, because in the visual messiness. I think they actually dropped the ball a bit in the UI. So it looks pretty in screenshots and maybe from watching YouTube videos, but when you have your hands on the controls, I don't think it's very good. But that's my only negative. So far, this game is so excellent. And yeah, look, I will brush up against some themes, some ideas to mobilize you and get you off the bench. But that'll be the closest thing to spoilers that I get. Just talking about the lead in a little bit. But yes, very cagey, very dancing around it. But before I do that, let's just make sure we put a bow on it. Fundamentals of a JRPG. I have some readability issues. So far, it's pretty standard. The real selling point on all of this is not just the French thematic angle that they've taken to approach this, but the general construction beyond the themes as well. Like, I'll make some comparisons of things that jump out to me. This reminds me of Harry Potter, of all things. And I'm not exactly what you would call a Harry Potter fan. I'm as normie as they come, right? I read maybe the first book, I watched the things in the cinemas, and I kind of have a lot of disdain for hardcore Harry Potter fans that have a bloody Ron Weasley tattoo on their face. You know, whatever. Pitch your tent and hate my guts if you will. But as a normie that appreciated the Harry Potter stuff as a normie, I see some themes in here. They're building this kind of expedition. And again, I'm being really cagey about spoilers because I didn't know any of this going in. But they're training up to go on this odyssey, which may well be a one-way ticket. In fact, their predecessors all have been. And so there is a melancholy, there is a doomish glumness to it. And a huge theme already is, what do you want to live for? Right? Do you want to just wait out and die? Because there is kind of a catastrophic, not quite post-apocalyptic component to it, but there is a sort of end of species component to day-to-day life for everyone. And you, in the beginning, just talking to different people and figuring out what this really unusual fantasy sci-fi setting is, some people are kind of curling up and just accepting their fate. Others are in stark defiance, are trying to live their life to the fullest while they still have, let's say, time in the hourglass. But then there is also a section of, the guys that brave up and say, well, we're going to go and we're essentially going to do an expedition to this thing called the Paintress that comes out once a year and is writing down these numbers, and we're up to 33. And so within that sort of expedition adventures guild institution, they have apprenticeship programs, and it's all very magic, and there's a thing about like scrawling runes onto weapons or even onto your skin, and there's a humongous cast of characters in the intro. So again, that's where I see comparisons to things like Harry Potter, or even, now this is going to be a stretch, but this is what I see Starship Troopers boot camp in here. Actually a lot of these B characters to fill out the roster. So there's like 20, 25 classmates, and you go around swapping notes, talking about their motivation, and generally speaking, they all want to face this whatever face on, because again, no one knows what's out there, and that's how the game kicks off. You're about to go on the expedition. And, the closest thing I'll get to spoilers is, everyone loads up on the boat and they're having their celebration into the unknown, kissing their loved ones goodbye. And the best comparison I could say to how it goes next reminds me of the Clendathu landing of Starship Troopers. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's fine. If you do, you can read between the lines, but there is a huge tone shift. And it's just wild. I can't believe this exists. This quality. I don't even know. It's not fan service. I suppose you could just say writing, but it's just such an original IP doing really entertaining stuff with its cast of characters, its world, its setup, its tone, the shifting tone. Like, this is for you and me. This is for the guys that have been dying slowly under terrible Western writing. So, look, I know I've talked in broad platitudes and it's just general praise, but it's been nondescript. I hope this has been a little bit helpful, but I would just really caution. Beware of spoilers out there. Again, the kit that the devs gave me was like, the big narrative spoilers are way later on, and I'm like, well, I'm telling you now, even in the opening, if you don't know anything about this game, there's just so much about what this game is that could be spoilt for you, and you should avoid it. So yeah, it's a JRPG mechanically, and as swisho and cool as it looks, to me, that's not really the selling point. It's functional, we'll say that, right? It's not bad, apart from the telegraphing issues I have a little bit of an issue with, or rather, sorry, the UI readability, but that's a very small thing. The real powerhouse pitch is, this is a narrative powerhouse, and I don't want to go too circular, but like I said, if you're jaded and a little bit beaten down by the state of current game writing, like I am, this is the cure. Anyway, vague tiptoe, but the highest of recommendations. If you're not playing the Oblivion remaster, then wrap your laughing gear around this, because it is excellent. Anyway, team, might just leave it there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.